The 4% rule might be leading you to either overspend or underspend in retirement, both of which can have serious consequences. In our last video, we discussed why the 4% rule is flawed. It was designed for worst case scenarios and often leads to retirees underspending and leaving 2 to 3 times their original portfolio behind. But if the 4% rule isn't ideal, what's the alternative? Today, we're diving into what we believe is a smarter, dynamic withdrawal strategy, one that adjusts based on market conditions, your actual spending needs, and real-life risks. First, let's do a quick recap on the problems with the 4% rule. See, the 4% rule was created by Bill Bengen in 1994, and it was meant to help retirees avoid running out of money by limiting annual withdrawals. It sounds like a good thing, but there are 3 major flaws with this approach. 1, it's just too rigid. It assumes fixed spending and doesn't adjust for market performance, uneven income sources, or lifestyle changes. 2, it's based on the worst case scenario. The 4% rule was stress tested using the worst retirement years in history, but in reality, most retirees don't experience those extreme conditions. 3, most people end up with way more money than they started. Studies by Michael Kitces have shown that over 2/3 of retirees finish with double or triple their original portfolio. So what's the solution? A dynamic withdrawal strategy. Instead of following a one-size-fits-all rule, a dynamic withdrawal strategy allows you to spend more when markets are strong, pull back slightly in bad years, adjust your initial spending based on real-world economic conditions. There are 2 common approaches to dynamic withdrawals. One being portfolio-based guardrails. One popular method uses withdrawal guardrails that increase or decrease spending based on portfolio performance. For example, if your portfolio grows by 20%, you increase spending slightly. If it drops by 20%, you temporarily cut back. The issue? This method is only looking at investment performance, ignoring other critical factors like income sources outside of the portfolio and spending changes over time. This may mean you take big cuts in spending when you don't necessarily have to. While this is an improvement on the 4% rule, we prefer a more holistic approach. We call that risk-based guardrails. A truly dynamic withdrawal strategy should consider more than just portfolio returns. We use risk-based guardrails that incorporate economic context. How do current patterns look versus time periods of the past? What can we learn from things like stock market valuations, interest rates, unemployment rates, and more to help us determine an optimal starting income? Spending phases. Retirees tend to spend more in their 60s, the go-go years, slow down in their 70s, the slow-go years, and then may face higher medical costs in their 80s and 90s, or the no-go years. This pattern, known as the retirement spending smile, is more realistic than a straight-line spending assumption. Life expectancy. The 4% rule assumes a 30-year retirement. Depending on your age and health, that may not be realistic and could cause under or overspending. Social Security, annuities, and other forms of income. A withdrawal strategy should consider when different income sources kick in and their amounts. This allows you to adjust a percentage of your portfolio withdrawals based on knowledge of when additional income sources start. This could mean starting with an initial withdrawal percentage much higher than 4%, with the knowledge that it will decrease when additional non-portfolio income starts. Now let's apply how this looks to a hypothetical case study. So let's take Mark and Linda. Mark and Linda are both 65 years old, just retired, and have $1.2 million in savings spread across 401ks, Roth IRAs, and taxable accounts. Mark has a full retirement benefit from Social Security of $3,500 per month, and Linda's is $2,000 per month. Both of their full retirement ages are 67. They want to spend more in their early years traveling and enjoying life without the fear of running out of money later. Scenario 1 has them using the 4% rule approach. Under the 4% rule, Mark and Linda would withdraw $48,000 per year, or $4,000 a month, in the first year, and adjust for inflation annually after that. Take 1.2 million times 4% gives you $48,000. But that's not quite enough to cover their expenses. So Mark and Linda decide to claim their Social Security early at age 65. Now with that, they get reduced benefits. Linda's benefit at 65 is just $1,734 per month, and Mark's benefit at 65 is just over $3,000 per month, giving them a total Social Security income of $4,769 per month, which means their total monthly income under this plan is just $8,768. Note, this amount will only increase under the 4% rules with inflation, so their real spending or purchasing power will never actually increase. This strategy does provide a consistent income without the need for any reductions in spending. On average, though, this strategy will leave them with 2 to 3 times their starting wealth. Not ideal if they aren't doing all the things they want to in retirement. On the positive side, if they do experience harsh conditions, they are unlikely to run out of money. Now let's compare that to what we believe to be a smarter strategy. So scenario 2 will utilize a risk-based dynamic withdrawal strategy. Instead of taking a fixed 4% of their initial starting balance, Mark and Linda utilize economic context, realistic spending patterns, their own risk tolerance for adjustments during retirement, and an optimized Social Security strategy to set their initial spending capacity. Instead of both claiming early, they decide to utilize a hybrid approach to Social Security that better meets their needs. Linda claims at 65, but Mark delays until 70. This gives them some income now, but it also allows Mark to lock in a higher Social Security check later. Based on all of these factors, Mark and Linda are able to determine that a $10,500 per month initial spending capacity gives them a probability of adjustment they are comfortable with. Compared to $8,768 per month in the 4% rule scenario, that is an increase of $1,700 a month, or nearly $21,000 per year. As you can see, this strategy employs a much higher initial withdrawal rate than the 4% rule, with the knowledge that increased Social Security will reduce the demands on the portfolio in just 5 years. They also know if they experience harsh conditions in the beginning of their retirement, they have room to pull back in their budget. There are a few other added benefits to this approach. One, by delaying Social Security, they have a higher survivor benefit. So due to Mark having that flexibility to delay his Social Security benefit, if he passes away first, Linda will be left with $4,600 per month of Social Security instead of just $3,300, a nearly 40% increase in her guaranteed monthly income. They also now have the ability to earn raises if the markets do well. For example, if their portfolio grows by just 8%, they can increase spending by an additional $787 per month, instead of being locked into a static income that only adjusts with inflation. That means after year 1, they may be spending over $2,000 more per month than with the 4% rule. They don't have to worry about leaving too much money on the table. Instead of finishing retirement with 2 to 3 times their original savings while pinching pennies all along, they'll actually get to enjoy their retirement to the fullest, while they're young and healthy without putting their future self in jeopardy, while still leaving behind a respectable legacy for their children. As you can see, we never even mentioned how the couple was invested. They were able to produce more income without changing their investment strategy or implementing any tax saving strategies. 2 approaches we will talk about more in upcoming videos. The key to a great retirement isn't just saving, it's knowing how to spend wisely. Make sure you subscribe to our channel and hit that notifications button to make sure you're getting all of our newest videos on our advanced retirement strategies. If you want a custom withdrawal plan for yourself, go ahead and check the link in the description to schedule a call.